Welcome to Books and Boulders, the podcast where we take a break from climbing, sit back, and dive into the world of adventure books.
Hi, everybody. Welcome back to another episode of Books and Boulders, your one-stop adventure podcast for all things climbing, nature, outdoor recreation, self-care, all that good stuff. I am your host, Melanie.
And I am Tiffany.
And yeah, we're back at it again, back at it again. Talking
Back
about,
at the end, too.
yeah.
Another end.
Yeah, back at it, wrapping up Wild by Cheryl Strayed. If you've been following along our journey and our coverage of this book so far, thank you so much for rocking with us. And yeah, we're wrapping up this book today. But I guess before we dive in, how you feeling, Tiff? How you doing?
I feel like it's fall. Yay, fall. I am pro fall, but
Hmm.
I'm not pro fall this code I feel like I have inhabited. So, the one good thing I will say about getting sick now is that I am going to Vegas this weekend.
Ooh.
Probably no outdoor climbing. Probably. Only because I'm not going with climbers otherwise.
Mm.
But I am hoping to hit up a gym. So fingers crossed, this is a very quick, hey, sinus, something I don't know. But just apologies in advance to everyone because I am not 100%. But I am here. I am
Yes.
here to do the thing and to talk
Cool.
about the things. So that is how I am. How are you doing?
Yeah, also doing all right. A little tired. I've just been tired and out of it for the past week or so. But I am also here. Work is kind of like kicking my butt right now, but it's cool. I'm grateful to be in the land of the employed. I'm not trying to look a gift
Yeah.
horse in the mouth or whatever that saying is. But it's happening. Life is happening. Things are thinking, and yeah, I'm just doing my best. So yeah.
Yeah, we ain't got much for y'all this week, so which is
It's
good
just
because this what was this? It was 5 chapters, but they were very short,
yeah.
like extremely short chapters. So
Yeah, they were short and like only a few of them out of the five, only like two or three of them really like stood out as having like something really meaty to get into.
yeah,
Um, but yeah, I guess on that note, should we go ahead and dive in
dive on in.
head
Let's
first? Let's get
get
it.
it.
Cool. Well, yeah, chapter 15, Box of Rain. So that's where we picked up. And this was kind of like the third. I don't actually know what this part was called or what the section was called, but the
Oh,
first
yeah.
chapter was chapter 15. Oh, it was called Box of Rain.
There you go.
Great. Um, so yeah, Box of Rain. Okay, so just a quick recap. So Cheryl finally reaches the California-Oregon border. She's like in the last stretch of her hike. And when she gets there, she gets this resupply box, which was originally supposed to be her last resupply box on the trail. So it has like some fun going out clothes. She forgot a pair of shoes, so she's in like this fancy,
She got
sexy
her bra.
yeah, her little lacy bra and jeans and is feeling herself, didn't quite finish out the outfit, has some hiking boots on, but she's that girl, so she's stunned regardless.
Yeah.
But yeah, and then meets a man named Jonathan so I guess the day she arrived, it happens to be the death of Jerry Garcia from the Grateful Dead. I haven't listened to a ton of Grateful Dead, but I know they are like a legendary. uh,
Yeah, I've been to San Francisco and I do know that that is definitely a big band. As
mm,
someone who was very, very deep in the music scene
mm,
at one point, I know of their fame. It
mhm.
never resonated with me
Yeah.
personally, but I could only imagine what it would be like when like a major artist passes away and you just appear up out the woods. It's like, what is
Right.
going on? Because you ain't got no news, no cell phone, no access to anything. So,
Right. Wait, okay, so were they a big band in San Francisco or is that where they started?
well, I think, I don't know if that's where they started or that's where that, I don't even know what you call that genre of music, but it feels like that's where that hippie vibe might have mostly lived,
Mm,
was a lot of
okay.
on the West Coast.
Hmm,
So,
true. That makes sense. That makes sense.
and then I
Uh,
think it then transitioned into like grunge rock. So, I don't,
mm,
again, I can't remember what the Dead would fall under,
mhm.
because rock has so many subcategories, but
Yeah.
it uh it was definitely a big movement out. I know for a fact, in San Francisco, that hate Ashbury area.
Huh.
So I
Okay. I
only
didn't
know that
know.
because I was with a record label and we visited and it was like a whole tour and a whole thing. So
Hmm. Cool. Wow. I knew you were into music, but I don't think I knew that much about your musical past. That would be fun to talk about one day. Um, but yeah, so well, Jerry Garcia died, R.I.P. Um, but yeah, she meets a guy named Jonathan at this event to commemorate his death, and by the end of the night, she's
she's
in
in love.
she's in
She
love.
she's in love. We've been
She,
waiting this whole time for her to
I know.
get booed up, and
She did
this
it.
is it would happen when she's like really feeling herself.
Right.
I wonder if it was like
Mm,
if she was in her natural habitat of wearing not grungy clothes and her 5011 fallen toenails wasn't hanging out, like, she just needed to feel pretty to
right. No,
really
I
let
get
herself
it.
go.
I get it. Yeah. So she goes back to the strange man's house on a remote farm. Like,
Yo, 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 yo. This is crazy to me because this was the 90s. And I feel like people
yeah.
were disappearing in the 90s too.
Yeah, for sure.
And like the level of trust, like I can't even trust someone on a dating app these days. I could not imagine the
No,
level of trust
I
that,
know.
I mean, I do think like once upon a time people weren't so crazy and you could just do crazy stuff like this and not die.
Yeah.
But I was just like, this is wild. I can't, like, in the way she's describing it, obviously we know she didn't die, but I'm just like waiting for some shoe to drop because this is insanity.
Yeah. I mean, to go to just like a random farm, like to get in a car with a strange man at all, but then to get in his car and go to a random farm, like, I don't know. I don't remember how long of a drive she said it was, but I was like, that is wild. But okay. Um, Yeah. So, but she rolls around in the hay with Jonathan. That and apparently that night they did not hook up. It was very like at least like
Yeah.
sexually.
Yeah.
They didn't seal the deal, but it seems like they did everything else that they could do. But at least to her credit, at least she was like, I don't have a condom, so I'm gonna not.
Right? I respect the responsibility. Go off
Yeah.
Cheryl because I wasn't quite sure that she was going to go that route. I thought she was
Yeah.
like, I'm in it to win it.
Okay. Yeah, right?
It has been
Um,
way too long for my
I
sex drive.
know. So yeah, she doesn't end up finishing the deed that night, but the next day he's like, "Hey, I got the day off. You want to just like take a ride, go to the beach?" And that is when she does seal the deal. But like I'm happy for her, I guess. It seems like she really needed to just maybe get
Get
laid.
that. Yeah. She needed to get
Um,
that off. Hmm.
yeah. And what's interesting is that I feel like what came out of it, it sounds like is growth. Like,
Hmm.
I mean, I think part of it is, yeah. So there's a couple of things that I feel like happen. Like, she has this moment of clarity kind of on the beach. She's like writing Paul's name in the sand and like ends up having this moment of clarity where she experiences this moment of like radical like forgiveness and self-acceptance, and has this point where she's like, um, yeah, what if I am sorry? What if I'm like truly apologetic? But if I could go back in time, I wouldn't change a thing. And yeah, I don't know. That definitely like stood out to me because I was like, wow, that's so interesting. Like, I feel like most of the times in my life when most, if not all of the times where I've been like truly regretful or apologetic, I've like wanted to take it back. And I don't know, I think it's just interesting. It feels interesting and bold to say like, yeah, I'm sorry I did it, but I'd do it again.
Yeah, I mean, I will say two things. Like this, I definitely try to also live with no regrets.
Hmm.
I mean, I I personally believe that everything that happens was meant to sculpt the person that you've made it to be. Now, there's been moments where, yes, if there could be a magic time machine, would I go back? 1 million gajillion percent.
Hmm.
But the second thing I felt like this was kind of the beginning, and it's appropriate because it's the last section. This is
Hmm.
the beginning of her obviously starting to be impacted by this journey. This is when you can see her sort of transforming.
Hmm.
And we'll see in subsequent chapters how that continues. But you could tell because I feel like her relationship with men,
Hmm.
especially, has been so nuanced and this because I don't know what I expected,
Hmm.
but it was a weird interaction to me. Like
Hmm.
it wasn't clingy or intimate, but it wasn't super dismissive. It seemed super friendly
Hmm.
and but not transactional. Like I don't know
Hmm.
how to explain it. It didn't feel like any one person took advantage of the other person.
Hmm.
It was extremely mutual. It was just the weirdest hookup I've ever seen. It was just like on to my next phase of this and I'm gonna continue. It was just like I got what I needed. Oh, he went and got the condoms. Cool, cool, cool. Yeah, let's
Yeah.
it was
Yeah.
just very liberating and it felt
Yeah.
like this was starting, like you said, like her separating herself and walking alone and in a lot of situations she's always thinking about Paul.
Hmm.
You notice Paul tends to come up a lot of times when she's with other men or thinking
Hmm.
about other men. And it's just interesting the whole I wrote Paul's name in the sand. And it was like this was her washing him away or erasing
Hmm.
that whole
Yeah.
thing out of her because that was such a big part of her life.
Yeah, that's true. That's an interesting point. Yeah, I think that that definitely felt really symbolic, especially with it kind of like being at the beach and this being like something that she's always done. Like she always writes his name in the sand when she goes to the beach. And um, that kind of moment of clarity definitely feels like, right, the being at the beach and the waves coming and washing his names away feels like metaphorical or like symbolic of like the moment in time where she's at with like her relationship to her past and her relationship with herself and just saying like, yeah, I did
Yeah.
it. It was wrong, but this is still a part of my journey and a part of like who I am and how I got to be where I am. And I guess maybe not feeling like proud of what she has done, but like, yeah, just a moment of acceptance, which I think is the best that any of us can ask for. Like, we're human and we do things and make mistakes, and to be able to appreciate the lessons in it while still like knowing that, like, maybe in the future we want to move differently, I think is the best we can do in this thing called life. Um, I think the other thing that like I noticed is, um, after her hookup, like I don't remember her exact words, but it sounded like she expressed this kind of like sense of emptiness after hooking up with him. And like it almost feels like she needed to do that. Like it feels like that
Mhm.
feeling of emptiness was like, in a way, some sort of growth for her because I don't think that she felt satisfied in the way that she maybe has in the past when she's had like really casual hookups with men. Um, but I feel like she needed to like go through that experience of like hooking up with him and then feeling like nothing at the end of it to realize that like that version of herself who sought out like the approval and the acceptance and the, I think she sought out like being like like a
The
sexual
attention.
yeah, the attention, that's what the word I'm
Hmm.
looking for, but like I think she sought that out, and I think she's finally getting to the point where like she realizes that that's no longer like serving her or the person that she wants to be. So yeah, I thought that was interesting, but
And I
yeah.
think that was symbolic in the way that, she put that one condom in the like hiker box
Mm,
to sort of say like I'm not gonna be needing, because she had that backup condom in her like first aid kit or something,
right.
but she didn't have it with her on that date because she didn't bring that out with her.
Mm,
Um, and so it was kind of like, okay, I did it. It's all out of my system.
hmm.
This is not something that serves me anymore. So just gonna
Yeah.
let it all go.
Yeah. I forgot that she put the condom in the hiker box. That condom been through it. The condom been. I'm like, I know that they're not supposed to apparently like, I don't know. There's a certain temperature that's like ideal to keep them at and stuff like that.
It probably
Condom.
is not a functional condom.
I
So
think we
I
should just throw it away.
I'm worried about the poor person who happens upon it. Their thing just crumbles. They try to use
Yeah,
it.
right.
Oh man.
Um, wow. But yeah, chapter 15, Box of Rain. I don't know. Any final thoughts on that one, or should we
That
move?
was pretty much it. You know
Yeah,
me, I'm still always obsessed with her. So, well, because look, heroin is not a lightweight drug, and
yeah,
she had a legitimate addiction to heroin.
for
And
sure.
so, I don't know if you remember her interaction with Clyde, the guy
All
outside of the
right.
club when she was waiting on Jonathan to get off of work,
Yeah.
and he like offers her some opium,
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
and without thinking, she takes it, and then she immediately spits it out, and I'm just like, in my mind, it probably still got a little in your system. I don't know.
Right.
Like that encounter was also
Hmm.
just as weird, and I also thought that that was gonna somehow circle back because
Hmm.
she seemed in some weird way really fascinated with his lifestyle,
Yeah.
and I thought that was gonna be a little bit more than what it was, and so I thought it was an interesting thing to add to the
Hmm.
book.
Hmm.
Because I'm not exactly sure what it did for the story, but
Yeah.
it was interesting.
Yeah. Well, I mean, one thing that I will say is that, I think she's learning, Like, I think that's just another example of her learning because, like you said, she did do heroin in the past, and it was like she just took strange drugs from strange men. Like, that was just a thing that she would do. And at least this time, she took the drug, but then halfway through, she was like, I shouldn't. And then, and then she spit it out. So growth, like,
Hey, kudos. I was shocked.
yeah,
I
yeah,
was shocked. I was also shocked she didn't get kidnapped in that situation either.
right. Well, because he
So,
was right there by the bar, which I mean, not just that doesn't mean she can't get kidnapped, but at
but
that
they were
point,
like in his,
trailer,
yeah, I don't know.
yeah,
It was still weird,
yeah,
but
yeah, yeah. I mean, she is lucky for the most part. I would say, like, I feel like she's experienced a certain degree of luck,
yeah,
and or privilege. But
that
yeah,
part.
we'll get to that later. Um, but yeah, cool. Well, that was chapter 15. I guess let's move on to chapter 16 because we got four more of these to get through.
Yes, yes.
So yeah, chapter 16, just a quick recap. I feel like not a whole lot happens in this chapter. It's a lot of like reflecting. Again, this is one of those
Yeah,
chapters.
flashback.
Yeah, one of those chapters where she's kind of like flashing back. She's reflecting a lot on her mother's life and death and her relationship with her mother. Just like going through these waves of anger and then at a certain point kind of like releasing all of that and I guess starting to experience some level of forgiveness, but like really going through this grieving process in real time.
Was
She
this
talks
her
about
mom's birthday? Was this around the time of her mom's birthday? I know at some point there's something that's going on with her that's really got her thinking about her mom. And I couldn't remember if it was her birthday during this chapter or the next chapter, but
I believe
yes.
so. Yeah, I believe so because, yeah, she reflects on how the due date of her terminated pregnancy coincides with her
Yep.
current time on the trail, and also how her due date was during the week of her mother's birthday. So I don't know
Yep.
if
Yep.
it's that day, but it's definitely that time frame.
Yep. Yep.
But yeah, what
Yeah, and
jumps out to you?
I
Yeah.
forgot about her pregnancy being so much further away from this whole thing. I don't know why I thought she like had the abortion and then went straight into the hike. But yes,
Mm,
there was some months between those two things.
right.
And yeah, this was just her kind of railing on her mom. I was just like, well, damn.
How
And
funny.
I think we get
Go
her
ahead.
her actual name. I don't know if it's this chapter or the next chapter, but we finally get her mom's name.
Hmm.
And I was just like, oh man, oh Bobby just
Yeah,
whew.
I know.
But a lot of
Yeah.
the stuff, and I mean, I think it eventually hit her. Like she did the best she could under given the circumstances of like having three kids with an abusive man.
Yeah.
You know, like I didn't get to go to college tours and you didn't do this for me and you weren't
Right.
you cared about this more than you cared about us. And you
Yeah.
know, again, this is that continuance of her, I think, finally shedding all these
Right.
layers of trauma.
Mm-hmm.
And this was definitely to me kind of like the apex of that, of
Hmm.
her just being like, I can't hold on to the weight of my mom's death anymore. Like this
Mm-hmm.
is I gotta let this go. And this section of the trail was a release for her.
Yeah.
Like I think that's what because not much happened, I think a lot happened because that's what was happening in those moments was just
Mm-hmm.
like, I gotta let this go. I'm never going to heal or grow if I don't let or fully mourn the loss of my mother.
Mm-hmm.
So,
Yeah, totally. Yeah, I think you put that perfectly. And I feel like that all, like everything that you just said is kind of like captured, like towards the very end, like the last paragraph of the chapter. She's talking about how the lake that she's at, Crater Lake, once used to be a mountain called Mazama,
mhm.
and how, yeah, it just, I don't remember the exact
I
words.
actually wrote it down.
Yeah.
I wrote down, and I don't know why the last paragraph of this, but I'll read it because
Yeah.
it did kind of hit for me.
Mm-hmm.
But it says, this was once Mazama. I kept reminding myself. This was once a mountain that stood nearly 12,000 feet tall and then had its heart removed. This was once a wasteland of lava and pumice and ash. This was once an empty bowl that took hundreds of years to fill. But hard as I tried, I couldn't see them in my mind's eye. Not the mountain or the wasteland or the empty bowl. They simply were not there anymore. There was only the stillness and silence of that water, what a mountain and a wasteland and an empty bowl turned into after the healing begins, which is obviously a metaphor for her life.
Mm-hmm.
Like that's I think I know that's why I wrote it down because it was
Mm-hmm.
like she's talking about the mountain in Mazama, but she's really talking about herself.
Right.
You
Yeah.
know, it's like all this stuff she's been through that's been desecrated can now be filled up with
Mm-hmm.
something else,
Mm-hmm.
you
Yeah,
know.
totally. Yeah. Yeah, I thought that was a really beautiful way of kind of like summarizing all of that. Um, yeah. So this kind of like process of grief and breaking down and healing and then being restored to something that is new and beautiful. Yeah. Cheryl the wordsmith. Go girl. Brought tears to my eyes.
Yeah.
But yeah, I don't know. Any final thoughts on chapter 16? I feel like that for me, that kind of like was the essence of it. And I feel like you put it really, really well. But I'm curious if you have any other thoughts.
The only thoughts I have is that I really want to go to Crater Lake National Park now.
Mm. Oh.
I want to see this lake that used to be a volcano. I am very fascinated by volcanoes, active,
Mm.
inactive, whatever. So it is definitely now on my list of places to
Wow.
visit. So if anybody's been there, shout like let holler, let me know what is
Yeah.
that like because it sounds amazing.
Yeah. Wow. It's also wild, like how like volcanoes were just like everywhere. Like there's a lot of like there were a lot of volcanoes in New Mexico and like there's like lava rock and it's interesting like to see. I mean, I a couple months ago maybe I went and explored like these lava tubes in New Mexico and I don't know the history of them that well, but it's like the remnants of a volcano that obviously is no more, but like was there, I don't know how millions, billions of years ago. And there's like these tubes that still like form in the ground that you can
Mm.
like go caving in and explore. And
Oh, that's cool.
yeah, it was really cool. You should what was it? God, what was it called? I will have to figure it out and I'll let you know, but it was super cool. If you ever come to New Mexico and you want to visit, that'd be a fun thing to do.
It's on the list. So many
Yeah.
places.
So many places. But yeah, I don't know. Yeah, volcanoes are wild. It's also wild that there are active volcanoes in places like Hawaii and people just straight up like live there. Like they're like,
I know.
yeah. So
I
like,
know. I know. I actually went to Hawaii a few, I don't know if it was right before or just after.
hmm,
Because I went to the Big Island, which is where the actual active volcanoes are.
hmm,
And you can see the
hmm,
dried up lava on the road.
hmm.
Like it's usually slow moving, so residents can evacuate fairly quickly. It's not a volcano that's gonna like, I forget, but
Gush.
there's like different
Yeah.
types of volcanic matter. It's like gas, and then
Hmm,
there's the lava, which usually moves slow enough for people to get out.
hmm.
But yeah, like there was like a tour guide that happened, and a bunch of people lost their lives on that tour.
Wow. Wow, that's so
Like
crazy.
got pulled. I don't know. I don't remember exactly what happened, but it's kind of crazy and
Yeah.
insane and really cool. We actually drove up to the top of one of the volcanoes
Hmm.
and it's snow up there. And I'm like, there's
Wow.
snow in Hawaii? Like it was kind of crazy. You
On
were
the top
basically
of a
above the
volcano.
clouds. Like you go up so high
Wait,
that you
was it
can
Mauna?
yes.
I
Yep.
went there once.
I
Cool.
loved
Yeah.
it. There were
Yeah.
people like, I don't know if they were running up it. They were doing things that I
Mm.
totally wanted to do and at
Yeah.
the time could physically do, but well,
Yeah.
I couldn't have physically done it, but I could have I could have
Yeah.
trained at one point really hard and been
Yeah.
able to do it.
Yeah. Wow. I didn't realize people were running up it. Because, like, right, when you get up to the top, like, I remember when I went, we had to have a vehicle that had four-wheel drive or something
Hmm.
like that because it's so steep that, like, you need to switch your car into a certain type of gear so that you
Yes.
don't wear your brakes out coming down. And
It
then I
was
remember
so
they,
scary.
yeah, they do like a lot of scientific and like astronomical research up there. So there's like satellites and
Hmm.
sciencey stuff going on up there.
It
Yeah.
was amazing.
Yeah.
I want to go back to the Big Island so bad. I loved
Yeah.
it.
Wow. Yeah. It was wild. Yeah. It was really cool. Oh, that would be sick.
Yeah.
That would be very cool. Yeah, wanting to go back. I got really lucky one summer. I went to the Big Island for my birthday, and then like 2 months later, my mom and her best friend and their kids wanted to go. So I got to go to the Big Island like twice in 2 months.
Oh my
Um,
God.
and
It's
the second time was when
amazing.
I went to Mauna Kea. But yeah, it was really cool.
Check it
Yeah.
out. If you're in Hawaii, it is worth it.
Yeah, yeah, it's very cool. I don't remember the exact statistic, but if I remember correctly, I believe I was told that it was like the tallest mountain in the world from its base, and like the base
Hmm.
is below sea level, but like
Yeah.
tallest mountain in the world. Um, but cool. Okay. Moving on.
Just chugging these little baby chapters on.
I know down to chapter 17 right now. I mean, this is it. You know what I mean? Like this is the culmination of the journey. Like it's like not only are we like physically reaching our destination, but I think the destination or what she hoped to get out of this journey, it's like all kind of like culminating and like really crystallizing in this section.
Yeah.
Um Wow. Chapter 17, though. Okay. Chapter 17, into a primal gear. So she's in Oregon. She's got 106 miles until the end of the trail. She got $20 in her pocket. She's like, I'm going to splurge on a couple snacks and a shower. Um, and she's thinking that, it'll be fine because I'm getting a resupply box soon and I'm going to have another $20 in there. And she doesn't. She doesn't have another $20. She keeps doing this to herself.
I
It's
know. I
like,
know.
I don't know how she keeps doing this to herself, but she does not have another $20. Because I guess she packed her boxes incorrectly. So she has to make this last $10 stretch. She also meets a group of three hikers called the Three Young Bucks. I forget. Okay, let me see if I can remember the name. It was like Richie, Rick, and Josh,
That is
maybe?
correct. Good
Okay.
job. Yep.
Wow.
I would not
And
have without my notes.
um I think the thing that stood out to me most towards the end of this chapter was the interaction she had with some very creepy, very strange men.
Yeah,
So yeah, she's like getting to this pond or lake and she's planning on setting up camp there. And two dudes who I can't remember if they were hunters. They
they
were hunters,
were.
right? Because
Yeah,
they had bow
they
and
were both.
arrows.
Yep.
Okay, cool. So they just run up to her and they're like, "Hey, you got any water?" or something like that. Like not hi, hello, how you doing? Can you help us? Just
Yeah.
immediately demanded something from her. Um, and just at a certain point in her interaction, she's getting really weirded out by them, by the way that they're looking at her, by the way that they're straight up commenting on her body in ways that are super inappropriate. And at a certain point, at a certain point, they end up leaving, and they're like, well, we got to get out of here. And she tells them she's going to move on, I think. And she's like, yeah, well, she's getting weirded out by them. She's like, I really don't want to have to leave, but I'm gonna just tell them that I'm gonna go and that I'm like moving on with my hike. And like maybe if I pretend to leave, they'll like
Yeah, that was
get
her
out of my
spot.
hair.
She was
Yeah.
like setting up there. Like
Yeah.
that's where she was gonna get her water cleaned and
Mhm.
yeah.
Not to mention, right? Like, not to mention that they were like really disrespectful and weird, but they also jammed her water filter so
Yeah.
that she couldn't even like hydrate herself. She's all trying to be nice and helpful. Ugh. Anyways, so she's like pretending that she's gonna get out of there because she like really doesn't want to leave, but she's just trying to get rid of them. And they're like, okay, well, yeah, we got to get out of here too. And they leave. She starts getting ready for bed, like changing her clothes, setting up
Mhm.
her campsite. And one of the men, first of all, hold on, like, sorry. Because first of all, how you like supposed to be two hunters and you come out in the woods and you're like, yeah, we got some beer
Wait,
and some Pepsi, like,
yeah. We
like,
don't need water. Like I would have been like, "Oh, y'all didn't bring water? Well, good luck." I mean,
right? Yeah,
what? That's
yeah,
on y'all. Like,
yeah, yeah. And
sorry.
you're a
I
lot
just
closer to your car than I am to any source of like
right? They were not
anything.
going to die if they just left and went back to their car. Like, we need
Yeah,
water. We need, you don't need anything. Because if I didn't come here, what would you have done?
we just went back to your car
Like,
and drank your beer, your
like,
hops infused water.
oh, I cannot. I cannot. That whole thing.
Yeah,
I will say, though, I was actually surprised that it took that long
this
for her
long.
to have a encounter like that.
Yeah.
Because without having a visual of what she looks like, I still imagine she's a very pretty white girl that like guys are gonna and it is still the woods and people are weird and
Hmm.
we know that even just based on this book, there were still more men in the woods throughout her
Hmm.
encounters than women. And she
Mm.
was alone and she was
Hmm.
intentionally alone for most of this trail or this
Hmm.
whole expedition. So I was actually like, wow, it finally happened. And I actually thought, I'll be honest, I thought worse was going to happen. I thought this was going to be an
Yeah.
actual story about grape, which is
Yeah.
what they call it on the internet.
Right. Yeah.
And and I was just like, oh. I can't
Right.
handle this level of trauma. We're at the end.
Right.
Please don't let this be what I think y'all are about to do here. So I was really
Yeah.
happy when that was not the case,
Yeah.
but and that's the thing too. So it's I feel like as someone who's been like assaulted to some degree, well, I've been assaulted, but not sexually. Well, it was sexual, but
Mm-hmm.
not penetratively.
Hmm.
It is always, even if you have the bear spray, the whatever protective device that you're going to use to ward off a weirdo,
Yeah.
your whole body brain mechanics shut down in those situations. And I know she was like, oh, I could grab his bow and stab him in the throat, and I can do this and I can do that. And, but it's like until you're in that situation, like
Yeah.
you can say what somebody should have done, how somebody could have reacted,
Yeah.
but it just never
Yeah.
works out like that. Like,
Yeah.
I
I
don't
mean, it's
know.
like your fight or flight reaction is like straight up kicking in. And like, I guess if you were to choose to fight, then like your body might figure out what that means and how to fight in the moment. But like in that moment, it's like you're just trying to calculate, what do I do? Like, do I like literally fight, or do I go away? Do I like
Yeah.
run, And I mean, I feel like, yeah, you become like super tunnel vision. I would imagine. Like I have been fortunate to have not really experienced any sort of like sexual assaults, and I mean physical assault either, really, but I know what it feels like to have that adrenaline kick in and to like not be able to like really see beyond like a very narrow scope. And so I can imagine that that's like, yeah, what she was going through. And it's like, I don't know, for him to like have come back and like continue to harass her. And then at a certain point, she kind of realizes that he was probably watching her change
Hmm.
her clothes and all of this. Um, oh, it was just disgusting. And it's like, it reminds me of that. I remember like maybe earlier this year, there was some social media trend kind of coming out where women were like being asked the question or answering the question of like, would they rather be in the woods with like, would they rather have to like fight a bear or a man in the woods? Like, or what? Do you know what I'm talking about? Oh
No.
my God. There was
This must have been
something.
before I got on TikTok.
It was something like, yeah, as a woman, would you rather encounter a bear or like a man? And most women were like, I would rather encounter a bear. Like, straight up.
That's wild.
Yeah,
This
yeah.
says a
So,
lot about a lot. This says a lot.
yeah, I know. Yeah. But yeah, it is so, yeah, I agree. Like I was also surprised that it took this long for something like this to happen. And of all of the things that, she feared or that potentially threatened her during her time on the trail, like this was a man. It was a man that put
Hmm.
her in the most danger and that caused like the most fear. Um, but
Yeah.
she ended up, so
Saved by
after
the
he came
bell.
back, after her homie, yeah, his homie came back. And fortunately was kind of probably a little bit weird still, but not as weird as his friend. Like,
Yeah.
so thank God for the slightly less weird man. Um,
I think they both were drunk. I think one was drunk and creepy and one was just drunk.
right, yeah. Ugh. Check your friend. You guys, ugh. Gosh. But they end up leaving, and she's like, I'm not gonna make that mistake again. So she books it, she gets out of there, and she ends up packing up her stuff and heading out. And I'm very happy that things did not go the way that it sounds like they could have. But wow, how terrifying. Like,
And that's just so frustrating because she had this perfect place set up, but like you don't feel safe anymore at
yeah,
all. And so it's like
yeah,
now you have to put yourself in an unsafe situation because you don't feel safe.
yeah,
For no, like there was no reason for her to not be able to stay in that space, but now
yeah.
somebody made that an unsafe space, and so and she did exactly what I did. Like when I got away
Mm.
from my assault situation, I did a I was like, slow, you walk, and then
Hmm.
when it's like, because you're freaked out, but if you just run right in that moment, like
Right. It's
that
going to
might
trigger
you
some
think it's
sort of
gonna provoke.
predator.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So it's like you
Yeah.
slow walk until you're like, all right, now I'm running, grab my keys
Right.
out of my bag, and like,
Right.
yeah, it's wild.
That is, yeah, that's so scary. And I'm sorry that you have experienced that. But yeah, y'all stay safe out there. It's really wild when you have to put yourself in a, it's really wild when you have to choose between the less unsafe of the two very unsafe things. Like, do I hike in the dark and risk whatever could come from that? Like, the fact that that is the safer alternative to just like being in the woods and
Yeah.
yeah, it's
Bigfoot
awful.
or a man?
Right.
What you gonna do?
Falling off this cliff or a man?
Yeah. Rattlesnakes or a man?
Yeah. Yeah.
Like,
It's wild.
like,
Men, if any men are listening to this, please don't be weird. I want to believe that if you're listening to this, you're not weird. But if you have any friends that are weird, tell them to stop being weird.
and this has been a PSA from Books and Boulder podcast. We appreciate your service.
Seriously. Um, cool. Well, I mean, yeah, final thoughts on chapter 17. Anything other than carry a shake?
Yeah, protect
Yeah.
yourself,
Yeah.
protect yourself, and don't be so nice. You know,
Seriously.
you
I
know, I
know.
I think
Ooh,
sometimes that can be like the downfall of us is being so nice and trusting.
it's true.
Sometimes you just got to be mean.
Yeah, it's true, especially as women. Like it is just I think that for a lot of women it's like in our nature to be like a little bit kinder, a little bit more gentle, a little bit like more helpful. But also I think that like society kind of imposes that on us and there is an expectation to be that way, or risk being called all everything but a child of God because people
Yep.
feel entitled to the kindness of women for some reason. Um, but yeah, I mean, for sure, like I think that that for me is definitely like a big underscore and like takeaway of like you don't owe these men nothing. Like you don't owe them nothing. Good luck.
Period.
Yeah. Well, on to chapter 18. We are nearing the end of our journey. Uh,
Mm.
yeah. Chapter 18, Queen of the PCT. Um, yeah, Cheryl makes it to her next resupply box where she has $40 waiting for her. So it doesn't sound like I can't remember if she's gone nearly broke so many times, but
Yeah.
I think at this point she has like maybe a couple cents, like
I think she
couple,
had 2 cents.
yeah, 2 cents to her name. She had two pennies to rub together. Um, and that was exactly what she had. But she makes it to her next resupply box where she has $40 waiting for her because she kind of packed her money a little bit wrong. But that's a nice surprise. You held out, you held strong, and now
Yeah.
you have $40 to reward yourself. She realizes that she has a crush on Rick of the three young bucks. She's like, oh my God, he's so charming. I love him. And yeah, she also, while she's in town at her resupply box, wow, I mean, a lot kind of did happen here. So
Yeah.
yeah, so while she's in town, I can't remember the order in which this happened, but she does end up running into her friend Lisa. Was that her girl's
Yeah.
name?
Yep. It was her friend Lisa, who she actually tried to call in the last chapter when her money wasn't there. Cause she
Mm,
was like, what happened? I don't understand. Like, did,
mhm.
Lisa take it out or but yeah, Lisa and Lisa's boyfriend popped up to
They
surprise
pulled
her.
up. Yeah. And they end up hanging out. She's hanging out with Lisa and her boyfriend and the three young bucks. And they end up going down to these hot springs in, um, I don't know, I guess these nearby hot springs, Bagby Hot Springs, and having a little soak. And she's just vibing. And it's like, I don't know, it's interesting for her. It was like, I think it was like a bittersweet moment where she was like, "Wow, I'm so excited to see my friend and so flattered that she would like come show up and like hang out with me before I finish up the trail." But also it's like really signaling the end of life on the trail and like the, imminent return to normalcy and like being a normal regular human again. And I think that kind of like fills her with a little bit of excitement, a little bit of dread. um, but yeah, she goes, gets her soak on in the hot springs, which feels like such a nice treat after just like,
Everything. Yeah.
yeah, yeah. And I don't know. I love a hot spring. I don't know about you,
I
but
have
have you?
not experienced one. When I went to Costa Rica in
Mhm.
December of last year, I did not realize I don't know what the word is, but they don't have highways in Costa Rica.
Hmm.
So what would normally take maybe 30 minutes in some places would take 3 hours.
Wow.
And so because it's just like roads,
Right.
and I really wanted to go to kind of the central part of Costa Rica where, of course, the volcanoes are, because
Mm.
me and volcanoes.
It's a thing
Uh,
here.
yes. But now I know that the next time I plan a trip to Costa Rica, I know like what part of town, what airport, where,
Mm.
and also just the internet made it sound like it was really dangerous and scary to drive in Costa Rica. So I did not rent a car. I hired a driver.
Mm.
And so there was really no way unless it was to do a full day tour. And I really just didn't want to like spend 4 hours on a
Mm.
car, bus, whatever, each way, 4 hours each way
Wow.
to then only experience like a couple of hours at a hot springs when there are hotels that are like either a part of hot springs or right next to hot springs.
Mhm.
So no, I have not. And it is on my very, very, very long travel bucket list.
Yes, yeah. I wonder if there's any hot springs near Las Vegas. Because I feel like within the United States, at least, like hot springs are a very like Western
Hmm.
thing. Um,
Yeah, aren't they just like from volcanoes? Like it doesn't that heat come from I don't know how the
I
geological
should know
formation of hot
this.
springs are set up, but I feel like it has something to do. At least the one in Costa Rica was
Hmm.
like the heat was because of the active volcano that it was right next to. But I'm gonna
Yeah.
say this about Vegas. I don't know that I want to go to a hot spring. Are they hot? Because it's already gonna be 95 degrees in Vegas.
Oh, true. I
So
mean,
I'm
it
not
depends on where you go and the time of day too.
sure.
Like if you went late at night or early in the morning, it might be cooler and make more sense. But yeah, that's a good call. Vegas just is hot. Like it's
Yeah.
just hot. Like it's like very little. I would say, yeah, like maybe October, November, December, it starts to get a little bit cooler, but even then during
Yeah.
the daytime it's still pretty hot. So yeah, I don't know. Good point. But again, if you make your way out to New Mexico, we got hot springs or California.
Yeah.
Idaho, I've been to a couple in Idaho. I was fortunate the one time that I did go to Costa Rica, I was able to like get to a hot spring, which was pretty cool. But yeah, I don't know. They're dope. I wonder, I wish I knew the answer to that because I want to say that maybe it also has something to do with geysers and like I don't know, a certain like geological pressure, but I'm saying stuff. I literally don't know what I'm talking about.
Well, y'all
But if
can
you're
let us know, but I'm
right.
definitely gonna do some research because I always want
Yeah.
to know the things. Usually I'm here
Yeah.
Googling while we're talking, but I'm not gonna do that today. But
Yeah.
yeah, I want to know.
Right. Yeah. If you are a scientist though, and kind of like work in this field of I don't know, geology, I'm
I
not
think it
really
would be
sure what this
geology. That sounds right.
yeah. I'll be doing stuff. But if you know anything about this, or even if you're not a geologist, but you just have this knowledge, this random knowledge for some reason, please let us know. Um, but yeah, so she ends up catching up with her friends, vibing out. There's also like, Cheryl really must be like a hot girl because everywhere she
Hmm.
goes, men
Hmm.
just be just
Yeah.
drooling around her. Um,
And I think this happened first, only because my notes are usually in chronological order, but I know where you're about
mm,
to go.
okay.
And I do think this happened before the hot springs,
Okay.
which in retrospect kind of makes the hot springs even better because it's like Can I catch a
wash
break?
off this weirdness. Yeah. Yeah, it's true. Um, so I guess prior to seeing her friends and like catching up and going to the hot springs, she does meet this guy whose name is Guy. And
Yep.
I guess he works at I don't know if he works at the
Yeah.
post office or the
He was a
ranger.
ranger. He was
Okay.
apparently a ranger.
Ew.
Yes.
Oh.
Why, of course. You, come on. They're bored.
Goodness. I mean, I guess,
And they
but like,
probably see dudes all day, and then it was like, oh, pretty
yeah.
girl.
But it's like, dang, like, what? There's no ranger professionalism code of conduct. Like, I
It's
don't know.
called man.
Right, fair.
Can't, cannot. A man is gonna man. So,
Yeah. Well, yeah, he asks her, I guess they run into to each other at a later point. The first time she meets him, he's giving her a resupply box, and at some other point he asks her if she wants to come over for a drink. He had some dental work done that day, so I don't know if it's he's actually drunk or has painkillers, but he's drooling at the mouth. Quite literally, has to hold a towel up to his face to catch the drool. And it's just kind of weird. But he's like, "Hey, you want to come by my house? I'll make you a cocktail and we can just like hang out." And she's like, "Okay, cool. Like, I'll come over on the condition that I can bring my friends." And I don't think he was expecting her friends to be three men.
yeah, I know she didn't specify. I thought that was interesting because obviously his reaction was not as positive as his reaction to, like, yeah, sure, bring your friends.
Right. Yeah. So he's like very hospitable to her, and the whole time is just like ignoring the crap out of these dudes. And then telling her these very like weird and graphic stories about like violence that he's seen or encountered like in his time at
Yeah.
the ranger station, which
Suicide.
first of all, like that's so wild. Like
Yeah.
I guess it's not entirely surprising, but it's also just like, man, it is not that is not something that I would expect as like a part of the ranger job description. And I'm really curious like how common or widespread something like that is. Like
Yeah.
that's something that rangers just all across the country experience. So that really was like wild to me. Um but yeah,
Was it just
ooh,
me,
mhm,
or did you think that he was gonna spike that drink?
mm,
He made a drink when she was there,
yeah.
and she was like, "Oh wow, you just use every single liquor." And then when they drank it all, he was like, "Oh, do you want another drink?" And then he went into the kitchen to make another drink. This is maybe the horror fan in me. I was
Mm.
like, he's probably about to make some drink that makes them all pass out. And I just,
Oh
me
my
thinking the
God.
worst. I
So
always got to make stuff
wow.
into like a terrible movie.
I mean, it's not like after what happened in the last chapter, it's not that
Because
far
he
fetched.
seemed
And
like he had ill intentions.
yeah, I mean, yeah, like, yeah. You're just inviting this random girl to come over, and then you're like offended when the friends that she brings are men. Like, you wanted to get her alone and
And drunk.
probably like take advantage of her.
Yeah.
Um, So it is not, I don't think it's like far-fetched. It didn't occur to me necessarily, I guess, because I thought that maybe with the three guys there, they offered her some protection, but it would have been wild for him to like try to knock all three of them out.
Well, they
But
were
I know,
sharing the same drink. So that's why
yeah,
I was like, oh my goodness, they're all about to drink from whatever this dude just put inside.
yeah.
I don't
And
know.
yeah, and also like being that age, like I remember, yes, I do remember this drink, and we would call them suicides, like
Hmm.
drinking just basically like a Long Island iced tea, which
Yep.
like
Oh,
I don't think
oh,
I've
oh.
ever.
I have, and I will never.
Yeah, no,
Oh.
the time, and I can't think of a single time that I've had a Long Island iced tea that I have not gotten
Hmm.
sick.
Hmm. Hmm.
Like,
Hmm.
um,
Thank you for putting that so nicely.
yeah. I was
I
like,
don't think I think those should be outlawed. Like, period.
yeah,
Should not be
seriously.
permitting Long Island's ever.
Yeah, yeah. But it's like at that I can't see myself drinking anything like that after like 22 years old. Like, and granted, she's like 20, what, she's 26, 26? I can't
Seven,
remember.
I think 20, about to turn 27 or something. I think she gets
Yeah.
a birthday or towards the end of it is near her birthday. So I think she's 26.
Yeah. I don't know. The fact that he's like a ranger and is like presumably a fully grown man
Hmm.
out here drinking like college cocktails is wild to me, but okay. Okay, guy. But
Get a life, guy.
um yeah, so I guess there were two other things that kind of stood out to me. So one was that okay, so she ends up getting this nickname, Queen of the PCT. The three young bucks dub her that nickname. So that's I guess she's finally got her trail name, although I would feel so weird introducing myself as the Queen of the
I'm the
PCT.
queen of the PCT.
I would hate it. It would make me cringe so hard. But so I don't know if she actually assumed that herself or like adopted that herself, but
But
that
you
is what
can't,
they gave her.
can you choose your own name or isn't it standard that someone has to give you the name? Like, I don't
Someone
know
is
much
supposed to
about,
give it to you.
okay. And
Yeah.
can you not be like, I reject that deposit. You can have that back. I don't want that. Like, can you be like, no, try again?
Yeah. Well, I mean, I guess you can, because if I recall, like earlier on in the book, she got a trail name before, like somebody named her the hapless hiker or something like
Oh, you're
that,
right. Yep, yep.
because she like had all these misadventures. And
That's
so I
definitely
don't
more appropriate.
for real, yeah. By the grace of God, she made it through this trail. Um, but yeah, I don't know. I guess you can reject it, and I guess to some extent she like identifies with Queen of the PCT because I mean she even says like so the guys tell her, they're like, oh, we want to call you Queen of the PCT because people always want to do stuff for you. And I'm like, I wonder why. But she reflects on it and she thinks about it and she's like, yeah, that's true. Like, I know I've had a couple weird encounters, but for the most part, like, I've been met with nothing but generosity and like people just jumping out of the way to take care of me.
Yeah.
And yeah, I don't know. So it seems like she does identify with that. And I don't know. That to me was like an interesting, I thought that was interesting because I was just like, I don't know. I don't know. What are your thoughts on that?
I mean, I understood where they got the name from. I mean,
Yeah.
she was definitely, despite her, couple interactions, she was definitely highly favored out there on the trail and
Mhm.
taken care of. And she, as far as I can tell, was the only solo female hiker.
Mhm.
So if we're going off of rank,
Yeah.
royal rank, she's pretty high up there. There was
Yeah.
not anyone else doing what she was doing in that moment. Yes, it feels a bit big of a name,
Yeah.
but you know, it is what it is. And I still would go with hapless hiker, because down to the $20 mix up,
Yeah.
I mean, she pretty much up until the last 100 or maybe 60 miles, it was still rough.
Yeah.
And maybe the names can evolve. I don't know how these trail names work. Like you can have a
Yeah.
name one year and graduate to a new name, but it's
Yeah.
just a name, so who knows?
Yeah. What's in a name? Ain't that what Shakespeare said?
Yes.
um, but yeah, so I mean, she gets her nickname. I think that she is just like feeling very like I don't know. I'm sure there's some part of her that feels very blessed and like fortunate at like all of the ways that this experience has worked in her favor. Um and I don't know. I can't remember where. I feel like I've heard this quote like I don't know if it's like nature provides or the trail provides, but it just seems like, she went into this like I have like maybe a 50% idea of like what I should be doing and what to expect. And things just kind of worked out. So lucky her. Um and before she kind of heads out, she exchanges contact information with Rick. She's like, "Oh my God, we're gonna be friends. We're gonna hang out." But
She was
for
vibing
once,
with him. She was
she
vibing with
was.
him. And at the end, she even, my final note was that, she agreed to not be intimate with him. Like just being close to him was enough. And I
Hmm.
think it was just part of that release and that growth that I was talking about. This is that next stage of like, I can be into a man. I can, want a man and not actually be intimate with him, or at least not be sexually intimate,
Hmm.
because I think they were still kind of intimate in a way.
Yeah, like I don't think that they ever, yeah, had anything. There was definitely, like you said, a vibe. Like she was vibing with him. She could tell that he was vibing with her. They were all giving each other googly eyes and stuff. Um, but yeah, for once, she doesn't really feel the desire to sleep with him or have a romantic connection with him or even necessarily to have companionship with him. Like I think that she appreciates his the connection that she had,
Yeah.
and cherishes that, but also recognizes that like this could just be what it is, and like yeah, I'm okay with it if that ends up being the case, which yeah, definitely speaking to her growth, because I think that going back to like previous chapters, like and discovering her daddy issues and how she just like yeah, I think a lot of the ways that she saw attention from men were like, a consequence of like daddy issues and the fact that she didn't get that love or that affection from her own father. Um, so yeah, I don't know. Proud of you, Cheryl. Yeah, yeah. So
It's a good
yeah, I
way
don't
to
know. Do
good
you
way to start wrapping up her journey.
yeah, wrapping up her journey. So I guess can we move on to chapter 19? Did you have any closing thoughts on that one?
Mm-mm. No.
Cool. Well, chapter 19. We are at the end of the road, the end of the road. Chapter 19, the dream of a common language. So Doug and Tom catch up with her along with
Dog reunited and it
I know,
feels so
right?
good. I was like, if they didn't close that Doug loop, I was gonna be mad.
I
I was
know.
gonna be
I
mad.
know. Yeah, yeah. She catches up with Doug and Tom. Can't forget Tom.
Well, they caught
Mustn't
up
forget
with
Tom.
her,
Right, true.
technically. Yes.
Facts. Those are facts. They caught up with the queen of the PCT, period.
Because I made some bets on poor Tom, and Tom, apologies. You are a warrior. I thought you
Yeah.
were gonna punk out and go home. You did not.
Tom saw it through. He catches up with her. He's still a little behind, Doug, but I love this for Tom. He's like, I'm going at my own pace. I'll get there when I get there. And he
Yeah.
does end up getting there. Um, and she gets to catch up with them. She gets to ask about, a couple of other people that she, like I think Albert and Greg, and she's like kind of just finding out like what do you guys know about, the people that we encountered in our earlier days on the trail. It's also so fun to like yeah, I don't know. I feel like that's a fun moment of like really reflecting on all of the growth because she met them so early on in her
Yeah.
journey, and now to like kind of reunite with them at the end, it's like not only obviously does that relationship come full circle, but I feel like it kind of brings her experience on the trail full circle, where it's like yeah, like she can just that is like I feel like in my mind, if I were to see them, it would just bring up all of the things that I've experienced and all of the growth that I've experienced, like physically, mentally, emotionally, in the time since I've seen them. So I'm sure that was a wild experience for her.
And I needed to
Um,
know what happened to them during that section that everybody got
oh
off.
yeah.
So I was just like, she wanted to know too. She's like, "Did y'all make it through the snow?" And it's like, "Yeah, nah, we punked out too. We tried. It
Right?
was." I was like, "There is no way anybody is
Yeah.
making it through that."
Yeah. They tried, they tried. I can't remember how far in they got, but yeah, they got to a point and they were like, it's not worth it. I would like to live to continue this hike.
Hmm.
So yeah, so they pulled out, but they did end up meeting up with her, and catching up with her, which is so wild. I'm wondering how many miles a day they clocked because like the fact that they were still able to catch up with her after she leapfrogged them so long ago is wild to me. But
I think it was like what I feel like I saw 20. For some reason, I feel like they were doing 20 miles a day.
I
I
thought
don't,
she
I could
was
be
too,
wrong.
though. But
Maybe towards the end, but I don't
yeah,
know.
mm,
She had a lot of like days where she was just kicking it though.
that's
She
true.
she did do a lot of little rest days in town and
Yeah,
then her whole shoe debacle, so
yeah, that's true. That is true. Um, well, she does finally end up reaching her destination and completing her hike at Bridge of the Gods. And yeah, I think that in that moment, she's like really excited to have finished, but is just struggling to capture or put into words the significance of that experience. And I thought, I don't know, she mentions like this book, The Dream of a Common Language, and I think it's poetry, and mentions like just having this moment while she's reading the book of knowing, like, I guess being able to intuitively understand what the words mean, but not really being able to like capture them or like articulate what do they mean to her. And like it's like I know what they mean, I can imagine what they mean, but like the language to describe it is just out of reach.
mhm.
And that's kind of how she feels about the significance of finishing her trail. Like she's like, I know this is a really profound moment in time. I know it's like significant and that there's a lot of weight to like this achievement, but I can't quite put to words what exactly this means. And having it to be okay with the fact that like I don't know how to like articulate what this means to me, but I know it means something, and that's okay that I don't know how to capture it. Yeah.
Yeah.
And yeah, sorry, go ahead.
No, no. I think I was just more so I guess captivated by of like what is next? Like
Yeah.
you put yourself in this world and it's so immersive that it's like this is all I know. How am I going to go to work and
Yeah.
live a life and not be dirty in the woods and carrying Big Bertha, like, whatever her backpack is called. But like, it was just such a like, who am I about to be now moment, you
Yeah.
know?
Yeah, for sure. Yeah. And it's like, I mean, I don't, it sounds like she doesn't know at that point. Like, I think she has some vague ideas of what comes next. She might work at a coffee shop. And like she plans on writing, books at night while working by day. Um, so she has like some ideas of what's going to happen next, but it is just like this blank canvas of, yeah, what happens next. She goes to get some ice cream and like meets a man who's like, hey, let me take you, and I'm like, I think there's a part of me that wonders like, I'm not saying that she's lying about these interactions, but it is just like interesting
I
that
mean, you know, she's
yeah,
a she's a fairly decent looking woman,
yeah,
so and this is obviously well after that situation, so
yeah,
blonde hair, blue eyes, and I'm sure her hair was even more blonde and,
yeah, yeah.
sun-kissed and all that. So people are just fascinated because they ain't see them toes, but
You see there was some one of these chapters, some lady from Switzerland was like, let me rub down your feet.
I know. That was wild.
Yeah.
And that was probably the
Uh,
best foot rub she ever had.
I know, right? Oh my gosh. I don't think I would have been able to allow somebody to do that, but that
Mm-mm.
lady insisted. She was like, give me them feet.
This is my destiny.
Oh God. But yeah, yeah, I don't know. So that, I mean, I think, yeah, so she's kind of like wrapping up her journey. I wish I could have like just I wish she could have written about like the next month after the trail because it's like I just need to know what happens. Like I feel so attached and invested in this journey.
Well, she did. She actually did kind of wrap it up. And I mean,
Yeah.
before she wrapped it up, one thing that really stood out, because remember I was talking about how each one of these chapters, it kind of reveals a bit of a shedding of the trauma. And,
Mm-hmm.
she had, her situation with Paul and her mom and just her addiction and sexual addiction. But then she has this moment when she's burning that book, The 10,000 Things,
Mm-hmm.
and she's thinking about how Eddie taught her how to make a fire.
Mm-hmm.
And Eddie is the one who really got her into the outdoors and
Yeah.
and she probably wouldn't have even done the PCT if it wasn't for Eddie.
Mm-hmm.
And so she has this really interesting quote that to me almost makes it feels like she forgives him because we know
Mm-hmm.
she's pissed at Eddie. Like deep down, she feels anger because he essentially abandoned her. But
Yeah.
she says he hadn't loved me well in the end,
Mm-hmm.
but he loved me well when it mattered.
Mm-hmm.
And I think sometimes when you go through these traumatic situations, you can only think about the bad, the bad, the bad. You suck, you
Yeah.
suck. But there was some good there, and that good resulted in this moment that
Mm-hmm.
for her is like an apex of her life. So she
Yeah.
had to give him props there. So I respected that, she gave
Yeah,
him
for
props.
sure. For sure. And I wonder, like, it is interesting to think about, like, if he hadn't been a part of her life or given her this experience, like, if she didn't have what it felt like she needed, like the bare minimum that she needed to like feel confident embarking on the PCT. I'm just like, what would that have been? Like what would have happened? Like, I don't know. Would she continue to like would she have continued to tumble into despair? Would she have found something else that was like, I guess, equivalent to the PCT? Like, would there have been some other experience that was just as profound and like, you know, um yeah, like just as profound and like life changing as the PCT that was not the PCT? And I don't know, I mean, I guess it doesn't matter because we're here right now, but I'm
Yeah.
curious, like in an alternate universe, like if she would have gotten what she needed through some other means than like a through hike. um but yeah, she kind of like, I think she does kind of like, yeah, she wraps it up and she like talks about how it's not until she revisits this location years later with her family
The Bridge of
that,
the Gods.
yeah, that the bridge of the gods, that she's able to like really capture and like put into words what it means to her. And I'm trying to see if I can find that. But
All I know is, so I this is my while you look for that,
yeah.
she basically, she made it to the Bridge of the Gods 2 days before her 27th birthday.
Mm,
And ultimately, she returns 4 years later to get married.
mm,
They don't mention who she married, so obviously, it was not any of these people on the
mhm.
trail. The guy who gave her the business card, she never sees him again, so we know it wasn't him.
Mhm.
And then she has two kids. And then we find out that Doug died
Mm.
in a very tragic kite sailing accident in New Zealand 9 years after um, she saw him.
Yeah.
And so that was, kind of interesting because I've been wondering about Doug, and I actually thought her and Doug were going to end up together,
Mm.
or she would end up with someone along the
But
way,
she
which
never.
obviously that wasn't the case. I think this was definitely a one and done for her. This wasn't like I did it. It served its purpose, and now I'm moving on to being a writer.
Mhm.
But yeah, it was really interesting how that all wrapped up.
Yeah. Yeah. It's not she's not clear like um hmm. Yeah, it's not really clear. Like she says how in 15 years I bring my family to the same white bench. So that was where she got the ice cream cone that was close by to the Bridge of the Gods, but not, I guess, at the Bridge of the Gods itself. Um But she says, I bring my family to the same white bench, and the four of us would eat ice cream cones while I told them the story of the time I'd been here once before, when I finished walking a long way on something called the Crest Trail, and how it would be only then that the meaning of my hike would unfold inside of me, the secret I'd always told myself finally revealed, which would bring me to this telling. So I think that, like, this story, this book is like kind of like the encapsulation of like, this is what that hike meant to me, which I think makes sense. Um, and yeah, we find out that Doug died, and that sucked. Like I
Yeah.
was really bummed to hear that, because it sounded like he was such a light and such a like rich part of her experience. Um, and yeah, I remember being really really bummed to hear that. And she went and checked her backpack, like, almost a
For that
decade
feather.
later, and she still had that feather wedged into the backpack, which I think is really beautiful. Um, but yeah, and all of that, that whole experience, everything that came after it, the life that she lived after it, it all kind of culminates in this book and this retelling.
I think
Yeah.
it was a beautiful memoir, and I am still shocked that, and again, I don't know as much about heroin addiction, but
Hmm.
it is an interesting way to get over an addiction. And I'm
Hmm.
still fascinated by the fact that she went through this whole thing and she still drank and, got drunk and I don't know. And she obviously, I don't think she relapsed post, she doesn't mention anything about that
Yeah.
part of it. It almost makes it seem a little like, I wasn't that addicted, like maybe she wasn't that addicted to it, but I don't know.
Hmm.
Um, it was a good story.
Hmm.
Yes, there were some sections that were a little kind of slower, but
Hmm.
I really enjoyed it. I am now very excited to watch the movie because I always like to see the movies of the books that
Yeah.
I've read. I'm very curious. I'm also just curious because I like to visualize books when I'm reading them, and so I really want to see because I'm not familiar with this landscape so much as I am on the East Coast and
Hmm.
the
And it changes
the
a lot
ATC.
too. Like it goes from this
Yeah.
desert to like the forest, which also must have been a really interesting experience. But yeah. Huh.
It was
Wow.
a good,
Yeah.
yeah.
It was
So
good. It was good. I agree.
good
I think
job, Cheryl. You made it. You made it
yeah.
through, and life is good. And did you see in I like to read the whole book. She also wrote, I didn't know she wrote the book. This is probably why Reese is in, because I think Reese's production company is the one who actually uh made the TV series. But I
Yeah.
guess she also wrote Tiny Beautiful Things. Did you watch that?
I did not. I saw that I was on Goodreads and I saw that she wrote that, but I had never heard of it before.
Maybe Reese didn't have anything to do with it, but it is
Hmm.
a TV series that I don't know that it got renewed though, but I did watch the first season of it
Hmm.
and I was like, "Oh, I didn't know she wrote that." So,
Yeah. Did you like the series?
yeah, it was interesting. There was like
Hmm.
this interracial couple and this biracial child who was, I think having some identity stuff, but the mom was a writer and she wrote this anonymous column
Hmm.
that people asked advice of, Dear Sugar.
Mm-hmm.
I liked it. I liked it. I would have watched another season. I don't know. You never know with TV shows if it's just it takes forever
Yeah.
for another season or if it's canceled. Like I have a hard
Yeah.
time these days, especially Hulu stays canceling stuff. So I don't know.
Netflix too.
Yeah. It's very rare for anything to last past 1 to 3 seasons. So I don't
Yeah.
know. But I just was like I wasn't really familiar with her as a writer
Yeah.
and that being obviously a fiction piece and not like a memoir like this. I thought that was interesting. So
Yeah. I would be curious to read some of her fiction for sure. Yeah. But but yeah. Wow. Wild.
that is the end.
that is the end. That brings us to the end of our journey. It's always so weird wrapping up a book. It's like I feel
I
like there
know.
should be something more body like momentous to
I
like
know.
mark
You feel
this,
kind of
but it's like,
naked.
oh,
Like,
I guess it's
"Woo,
over.
just
Yeah.
done.
Yeah.
What do
Yeah.
we do now? Oh, we read
I
another
know.
book. Haha.
Yeah. Um, but yeah, so I mean, I guess what's next for us?
Well, since we are nearing the last quarter of the year, and because we take so long to read books, we have one more book for this season before we take a little bit of a holiday hiatus so that we can chill with family and read our own non-adventure books, but still reading books. Um,
Always
and
reading books.
so I guess because I picked the first book, I'm picking the last book. Um, and because I'm a climber and I want another climbing book, I chose a book called Enough, Climbing Toward a True Self on Mount Everest. This book is written by Melissa Arnott Reed, and it's another memoir. And yeah, I think it's kind of similar to Wild, actually. I think it's a bit of a overcoming trauma, overcoming adversity, using these experiences to deal with life. And I know nothing about the author. I know nothing about the book. I randomly picked it, so it could be awful. It could be great. I don't know. But if you want to read along with us, definitely look it up. A book called Enough, and we're gonna get started on that one next time. And that will pretty much wrap up our books for this first season of our Ladies First. Um,
Woohoo.
I don't know. I feel like we could keep doing ladies next season. We could, um, go into fiction next season. I don't know. The world is our oyster. I mean, obviously,
Yeah.
we pretty much did all memoirs. And I think we could get a little funky with it next time. But if y'all have any
Yeah.
thoughts, let us know.
Yeah. Yeah.
What you think, how it should look. But yeah, I'm excited to read another memoir and just see where 2026 takes us.
Yeah, totally. Yeah. If you are opinionated about what we read in 2026, like please share your thoughts and opinions. But yeah, I'm super excited to dive into the next book. I feel like we've had a good run so far and they've all been bangers pretty much. So yeah, I'm excited for the next one.
Same aim. And speaking of books that are not adventure books, you inspired me to start reading this because I found this
Mm,
in my house. So I'm reading Toni Morrison's The Bluest Eye. I've never read it before. I've
nice.
heard of it. So definitely going a different. I'm trying to do simul reading. So I'm
Hmm.
reading our books and another book at the same time.
Hmm.
That is my book of choice. I also ordered the other one you told me though, the personal essays.
Yes,
So
yeah, that's the one that I'm reading right now. I'm actually reading two, technically three books right now, but I'm reading them at different paces. So, the one that I shared with you is Gathering Blossoms Under Fire by Alice Walker. And it's just, if for those who don't know, Alice Walker is I think her most famous work is The Color Purple, which eventually became a film and then got readapted into a musical, which I really enjoyed. I
it
normally don't
was
like musicals,
great.
but it was really, really good. Um, and this is like a collection of like her personal essays and journal entries from her over like I think 3 or 4 decades or something like that. Yeah, and I really appreciate it. I feel like for a Black woman at this time, like in the 60s, I feel like she was a fairly radical thinker. And yeah, it's been like really insightful and like affirming to read a lot of her entries and a lot of her opinions on just different aspects of the human experience and yeah, what it's like to be a person, what it's like to be a Black woman. So yeah, but that one I'm like very much like pacing myself. There is no rush to end it. I'm just kind of like savoring it and working through it. I also randomly picked up this book called Money, The True Story of a Made Up Thing. It's a nonfiction book about yeah, money and economics and how money came to be and just how it, you know, changes, how it's changed our life as humans. And I'm only like 2 chapters into that one. I started it yesterday. And then I picked up this book called The Mastery of Self by Don Miguel Ruiz. It's kind of a Don Miguel Ruiz Jr. So I don't know if you've heard of the Four Agreements, but
Hmm.
his son wrote, the author's son wrote this book called The Mastery of Self. And yeah, I mean, I think it's like been really helpful and eye opening and like, I've just been on my self help journey,
Yeah,
just trying to like,
as one should be in these
yeah,
times.
yeah, just really trying to like, um, just better myself. And it is really helping me think through. I mean, I've always kind of had this like, I've always sort of had this resistance to the way that we live. Like I feel like the technology, the just the urgency that technology and like capitalism and like, corporate work culture puts on us. Like it's just such an intense paradigm to live within. And I've been trying to like figure out how can I be more gentle on myself? How can I like carve out more space for like slowness and ease and intention and that sort of thing? And so that's been like a really helpful book. And um yeah, kind of like recognizing like just some unhealthy attachments that I have and some ways that I've been indoctrinated into like life as we know it, and how to kind of like, yeah, kind of strike a balance between like what are my personal beliefs and what are the systems that I have to live within, and how can I like balance those two so that I don't completely burn myself out. So yeah, probably doing too much with my books, but I'm also just taking a very leisurely approach to reading them. So yeah.
Beautiful. I love it. I love it. Yeah, tell us what y'all are reading. I would love to
Yeah.
hear what other people are reading. So,
Yeah.
yeah, so
Cool.
join us on this journey. Join our book club. Link is in all the places in the show notes. So, we appreciate those of you who go along with us and we hope you get something out of this. It's definitely been very healing for me. I love just putting my tech away, turning my TV off, and intentionally reading something that I have not done in a very long time,
Mhm.
which is sad because I love reading. So,
Mhm.
yeah, it's been nice to fall back in love with it.
Sweet. Cool. Well, yeah. Thanks again for joining us. And I guess we'll see you next time. Take care of
Yes, yep.
yourselves.
Peace out.
Bye.
Books and Boulders, an adventure podcast produced by First Outdoor Company for climbers, readers, and everyone in between. Subscribe now and join the BB Book Club.